Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I'm all set. You guys still can hear me, so we are officially started. I am trying to get attendees are still coming on. I just see the numbers going up. And so let's wait a few minutes before I make introductions to make sure more people come on. Can you guys see my screen? Give a thumbs up. Yeah, you guys can see my screen because we've been talking about that.
Yes.
Awesome, and we are recording as well. Yeah, I see the numbers going up, so the attendees are coming on. If you guys bear with us for a second while others join in.
I'm going to maybe text Hannah and just see.
Yes, please. Yeah. I don't see Hannah, you're right.
Yeah, and how about Laura? I'll text her.
Laura.
She's on.
No, I'm here. I just don't have a video.
Oh, Laura, hi.
You don't need to see me in my pajamas right now.
Well, I can't imagine that you weren't on, so there you go.
He's the mysterious one.
You're the ghost.
So do you all have the bar on the right that's showing computer audio, microphone, attendees? Oh, it's the chat. So I should have that, right? I want to look at that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just check.
I think it also allows us to mute in case something happens in your background. There's like a little thing to mute it.
Okay.
That's what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
My dog's behaving currently, so you know.
See, I don't know, when you guys teach a class, how much time do you give before you start the class?
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I'll do that too.
Just to honor people's time.
Yeah.
What was that, 5 minutes?
Just when to start.
Oh, to give people to start. Yeah. That sounds reasonable.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll do that.
Hi. Here, he wants to say hi, so there he
Hi
is.
there.
Oh,
Hi.
How adorable.
That's wonderful.
He's like harassing me because he can hear you guys, so he's like, "You're talking to somebody."
Is that an Obama kind of dog? I forget what they're called. Portuguese water dog?
No. He's he's a rescue, but they think he's a Maltese-poo. Like they for sure know his mom was a Maltese, and they think the dad was a Yorkie poodle mix.
Oh my goodness, that's a pretty special rescue.
Yeah, he a hot mess.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm going to start to thank people who are joining us, and we're just going to wait for a couple of more minutes before I make the introductions. But welcome, and we're looking forward to this webinar. And we've given you some visuals for entertainment. You could vote on the best background at the end of this webinar.
Michael wins.
Michael wins.
Michael, my background.
I don't have my lights or anything. Oh, I don't know. That's pretty good back there, Karen.
Oh, look at Karen's like,
what's going on? She's got some interesting things. There's got rainbow colors in the back, and the world. There's a map, a very funky map.
Terry, I think you and Laura are out of the running.
Which actually matches her shirt, which I think.
We're just going to go to Michael and Karen's for a party later because their house is ready.
I know.
Oh, no. Well, I just like that painting. My friend painted it in this world. Yeah.
Oh,
that is beautiful.
Like,
very apropos for this presentation, Karen.
I know, right?
I didn't hear back from Hannah either, by the way.
Yeah, that's strange, but hopefully she got home from work all right.
All right. So let's begin. 8:05, you guys. And we have a good showing of attendees for now, although we have a whole bunch of others who've signed up. So I'll start with, first of all, thanking you all for joining us on the Global Educators Exchange webinar this evening. We have a wonderful panel, as you can see by the fun we've been having before we start. And I'm really excited to start the conversation. My name is Mitra Shabarini. I'm the Executive Director of World Teach. We're a 33-year-old social impact organization. And what we're really thrilled about is that this summer we're taking on a whole new initiative by launching our premier professional development program called Global Educators Exchange. And the screen I'm sharing, and I hope I'm sharing it properly, it shows the website page that we have. Relevant and timely, educators can develop important knowledge and skills to integrate global competencies to advance student learning for their schools and districts. While artificial intelligence is dramatically shifting and supplanting what our students need for the future workforce, global competency is in its stead becoming increasingly imperative. A few words about World Teach before we start. Our history is a testament to our work. World Teach began in 1986 at Harvard University. 33 years later and over 7,500 volunteers, we continue the legacy of our founder and first volunteer, professor and economist Michael Kramer. Fernando Reimers, who you might all know as well, is now the chair of our board of trustees. Having operated in 32 countries to date, our strength is in cross-cultural training and programmatic support while abroad. Global citizenship, professional growth, leadership skills, and resourcefulness are values that World Teach espouses. Today, we've invited 6 2018 Global Fellows from National Education Association's Foundation. These inspiring, and I think inspiring is not even doing you justice, fellows will speak about the transformative power of their international experience, how they have benefited personally and professionally, and why school districts should engage and encourage their educators to participate in the G experience, but international experiences in general. We're also thrilled to have among our guests, I'm not sure if they signed on or not yet, but from Mexico, they're on the webinar with us. They are our partners in Mexico, the folks who are welcoming the teachers this summer to go from the U.S., Mr. Paul Arvizu and Mr. Gerardo Fano from Escuela Normal in Puebla, Mexico, or NCEP, and they could correct me if I've said this wrong. They represent one of the countries with whom we will be partnering for G. Paul is the director of the school, and Gerardo is an English teacher there, and also the program's official liaison. They are just incredibly lovely to work with, and we're very excited to welcome the teachers to their schools. And on the panel, who you saw, some of the visuals you have besides Laura West, I want to introduce them, and they'll say a little few words about themselves to you themselves. Terry Anderson, on the right bottom corner, she's an elementary school educator from Massachusetts. Laura West, again, not visually, because she's in her pajamas, gifted and talented coordinator from Arkansas. We have Monica Bryant. She's a school counselor from Nevada and tells me she has great weather and rubs it in my face. Karen Burgess, a special educator at Manchester School District in New Hampshire. And Michael Morass, first grade special educator and a certified dyslexia practitioner in, again, Massachusetts. Thank you all for being here. You're willing to talk about your international experience and what it's meant for you personally and professionally. And again, I'm so thrilled to have you here. So I hope that what you all take who have joined us on this webinar is that that the experience you just saw from the introduction is not for only history teachers, and it's for a wide range of backgrounds and disciplines. And I see Hannah Rogers just joined us. And Hannah,
I can't see myself, so I hope I'm presentable. Hi.
Hi, Hannah. You're beyond presentable, and if you're not presentable, your daughter is. I'm assuming that's your daughter.
Oh, I know. She's like, what's going on?
Hannah is an ESL teacher from Arkansas. So you guys, if you want to start with Terry first and just give a brief introduction about yourselves, and then we'll go around and address the questions. I have some questions for you.
Okay, thank you, Mitra. Like she said, I'm Terry Anderson, and I'm a special educator in an elementary school in a small rural town in western Massachusetts. And I'm also proud to say I'm a 2018 Global Fellow with the NEA Foundation. And that is how we all know each other. And so we were able to travel as a group of 48 teachers to South Africa last summer. And so tonight we just want to talk to everybody about how that opportunity has impacted us as teachers and how that international experience can come through in our day-to-day work life.
Awesome. Karen, you want to go next?
Sure. So my name's Karen. I am a special education teacher in Manchester, which is one of the largest and also the most diverse school district in New Hampshire. I currently work in a middle school, so it's definitely some fun times. But I have a lot of students with various backgrounds. And like Terry was saying, I would like to share with you about international experiences and how I incorporate it in my teaching lessons and everything like that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karen, and welcome. Monica, how about you?
I'm Monica Bryant. I am a elementary school counselor in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we are the 5th largest school district in the nation. And so with doing this work, I like to talk with you all a little bit more about how you don't have to be necessarily a classroom teacher or be in a specific grade level to be able to still do this work of global education, and how you can partner with your teachers at your schools and how you can train teachers and educate people to do the work, but you are able to do this type of work even if you don't have your own set of kids.
Excellent. Thank you, Monica. Michael, how about yourself?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Hi, I'm Mike Marassi. I'm also a special education teacher, so there's a few special education teachers on board here today. I work in Massachusetts, in central Massachusetts, in a little town just south of Worcester, Massachusetts. And I work mostly with students with special needs. I have a wide variety, but I'm also, where I take on the main teacher role during social studies and the general education teacher support. So I do social studies for both of my classrooms, and I'm also the social studies coordinator for my grade. So social studies is kind of a passion of mine, as well as special ed. So it kind of mixed perfectly with the Global Learning Fellowship Program, and it's kind of inspired a couple programs that we're doing in Northbridge. So it's good.
Excellent, and welcome. Thank you, Michael. Hannah, how about yourself?
Hello, I'm Hannah Rogers, and I teach in a suburban town, a suburb of Birmingham, Alabama. It's called Pelham, and I teach in a middle school. I teach 6th grade earth science and 8th grade theater currently, and 6th grade ESL. I teach in a pretty diverse school. And I'm just so happy to see everybody again. Thank you.
That's great. Well, again, thank you. I want to first point out the diversity of the type of teachers that the NEA Foundation Fellows are, is that it doesn't matter if you were attracted to an international experience, whether you're from a large, 5th largest district like Monica, or a small town like Michael, or a Midwestern state. I think we can't really say. A lot of people think, oh, your international experience is from a large district and you're teaching history. So I think you guys all debunk that sort of image that we have in our mind. The first question I'd like to pose for the fellows is for them to speak of the type of learning that happens and the impact they've seen their experience having on their students. If you can talk about how your international experience translated back to the classroom and the impact it had on your students, the sort of the takeaway that students, like Terry, you had talked about students taking action. Can you speak a little bit more? And I'm not sure who wants to pick that question up, but I'll just leave it for you guys to do.
Can I interject real quick? I haven't had a chance to do my introduction.
Laura!
The invisible girl.
I know, where are you?
Laura!
I was having a camera issue, so you just get to hear my magical voice today.
Laura, I have
it's amazing.
Now, I'm Laura West, and I live in Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas. I am the Gifted and Talented Coordinator and the MYP Coordinator at an International Baccalaureate District. So I want to kind of piggyback on what Monica said, that you don't have to be as strictly a classroom teacher to be able to do global education in your district. Okay, now you can start.
Oh, gosh. You're a dear. I'm sorry. This is what does to your brains, right? You see the visual and you lose what's unseen.
Yeah, well, you couldn't see her, so.
So go ahead, Laura. You know what? You're going to answer who would like to go first? I'm not going to say that. Who would like to go first?
Well, I could talk about our school. I'm working in a really small rural school, and there's almost no diversity in the school, which makes some things really challenging for us. But I feel like it's even more important to bring the world into a school like that, or these kids need experiences so badly. So we've been able to connect with students in different parts of the world over the past couple of years. I've known some people in Tanzania, and we've been doing some Skype meetings. We've been sending things back and forth. We have done a paper plate project, which was super cool because kids of all ages could decorate a paper plate, and then we physically exchanged the plates. So at my school, they're hanging, and they're plates that were decorated by little kids in Tanzania. So it's been really cool. But this year we have been using Empatico, and I know some of my fellows here have been using Empatico, and that's a free website for any teachers that want to use it. And it takes all the work out of a connection with another place. Mm-hmm. And they set you up on the website. You can pick topics. It's pretty cool. So we're connected with a class in Nigeria, and that classroom is about sixth grade. Or maybe fifth grade. They're like 11 years old, but there's 58 of them in the class. So it's been quite a learning experience already. So that's been pretty cool. And through all of this and through literature, our kids in our school have become much more interested and engaged. They are learning about things like social equity issues that they never knew about, and they've been learning about clean drinking water and how that isn't just as easy as it is for us in some other parts of the world. And they've planned fundraisers, and they've done sponsorships where they've carried buckets of water just like the kids have in their books. And they've raised, last year in May, they raised over $1,000 to send to South Sudan water project. So we're very proud of them, and you know, we're just stretching as much as we can, and we just want to keep going.
That's awesome, Terry. How about some of the other you guys? Laura, I don't want to forget you. You want to say anything?
So for me, as a non-classroom teacher, what I tried to do initially, and I've switched schools, so I'm a little behind now because I just went to a new school a couple of months ago. And so at my new school, we're just in the planning phases of putting some things into place. But a couple of things that we have in motion is we will be starting at the beginning of next year a global education after school program. And so the kids are going to look at the sustainable goals. We're going to really dig deep into what those mean at an elementary level. And then we will have a project attached to each goal. So it might be fundraising, it might be doing an art project, writing a book about what they learned, whatever the case may be, to help students really see that it's not, you know, I'm in a very affluent area in Las Vegas, and so our kids don't necessarily understand the need, you know what I mean? And so they travel a lot, which is amazing, but they're traveling and they're seeing the wealthy parts of areas because they come from these affluent homes. And so it's helping them to see, like, you know, you might go to this place, but there's people struggling and there's other things going on. And so we're working to help them do that. We have a teacher from the Philippines at my school who collects school supplies and different things, and she sends them to villages in the Philippines. So I've been collaborating and working with her. And so we're going to start with a club with giving, about giving next year. And so we're going to be working collaboratively with her for the students to help raise those things for her so that they take part in that and they start to understand that we are well-to-do here. We're very well off. Our families are very fortunate, but it's not the case everywhere, you know. And we also are using Empatico. This year we were not hooked up with somebody from another country, but we are across the states. So we have a school in rural West Virginia. And so our students have been learning about snow was our first one. So we've been learning about snow. We're doing our own kind of hands-on lessons about empathy. And so it's really been amazing because our kids are really attached, and now they're attached to these students in another area that they knew nothing about. And it's helping them gain that empathy, which I think is the big piece about the global ed. It's us learning about the world and then bringing that back to our teachers. And I've been talking about my experiences at my new school with us traveling to South Africa and the schools that we met up with, those types of things. And so now other teachers are interested, and I have a few teachers who are signing up for Empatico. They're like, oh, you guys wrote a book? Like, how can I get these lessons going in my classroom? So that's the piece as a non-classroom teacher that's really been amazing. And I have an interactive bulletin board up about global ed and the sustainable goals. And so every couple of weeks they learn about a new goal, and there's interactive papers they can take of things that they can do at home to help with that goal. So it's been really amazing.
That's really cool. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I brought up Empatico just so others can see as well. Wonderful. Thank you. Monica, I just want to follow up a little bit about what you said about everything that's going on in that school. And I love the fact that you said, yeah, these kids travel, but they see a whole different affluence, and that this takes it another layer. I want to be a little bit like more, what would happen if you hadn't had the international experience? What do you think would have been, what would have happened with these kids' experience?
So I think it's, I came back with a different mindset, because even I myself have traveled before, but being able to really travel with a different lens, and you're going into it from an educational standpoint, and what can I take from this trip that's going to empower my students to gain more empathy, to see the world in a different view. And so I left that trip and I saw the world in a different view because I hadn't traveled in that capacity before, you know. And so in all the work that we did leading up to understand the sustainable goals, to understand a little bit about what life is like in South Africa, and then to be able to travel to schools and see it firsthand, you start to really gain a better understanding that you really can come back. And so because I'm better and I have a better understanding, and I've met these amazing fellows who are doing literally so many amazing things in their classrooms and their schools, it's amazing. I can't even say any amount of, I've learned so much from those fellows. And so having experience and being able to say, oh, you know what, I've never thought from this lens before. So now that I'm thinking from this global education lens, what is it that I can be doing? And so now my students are so much better off, because I think all of us are thinking in this realm now, and we're doing more things than we've done before. And so our students are better because of that.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. How about some of others who want to speak to that? How have your classrooms or students changed because of your experience? Michael, you want to go next? Oh.
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. I have a mute issue on my thing. Yeah, I think as teachers, you know, all teachers, we kind of go into any kind of travel experience with kind of the standards that we teach in the back of our mind. So just, you know, we know them. So before we go on a trip or during the trip, it's really good to kind of look for ways to connect the dots. So you can kind of bring out your standards that you're teaching, but using the experience that you just had wherever you travel. So it's kind of one way that I've done it. And I've done that a lot through either just sharing stories with my kids when I talk about like recycling, I talk about the glass houses in Prince Edward Island, things like that, or this end of this school year, I'll be doing tweaking my mammal unit to include South African animals, using real pictures from safaris, which kids will go nuts over. So things like that, it's just kind of just those small little experiences that you can bring. And that's kind of a very practical approach to this experience, but that really says nothing about the pure kind of inspirational piece that it brought to a lot of the educators in the global learning community. And now we're doing kind of a lot of additional projects together. So it's kind of nice. So the practical piece is one piece, but it also is just really inspiring to travel.
And I think the kids really pick up on that. The kids know when you're excited about something, they pick up on your energy. And there's like some really chemistry. I used to teach kindergarten in the younger grades, so I know how they know that you're real and it's genuine, and they really tap into that energy. So I hear that. Karen, how about you? And Laura, I have not forgotten about you.
Was that for me?
Yes, Karen, why don't you go and then we'll go.
It's perfect because I want to piggyback off what Michael was just saying. Since my role with my students, I'm not always directly teaching lessons as opposed to supporting them in their classrooms, but I find I'm always bringing in bits and pieces of my experiences to relate to something that they might be learning about, or just something they're interested in. Like just today, I'm sitting in my classroom and there was another class in there for their class, and they picked up a book and it was called The World's Scariest Prisons. And I was like, hey, come over here for a second. I want to show you something. And I opened up the book to a prison that I had gone to in Vietnam. And I was like, I've been there before. I'm like, let me find some pictures for you and I'll bring them in. And he was like, oh, really? That's so cool. And they were like, all the kids were asking questions about it. And just that little piece, because I noticed that they saw it, they got engaged with that and they still learned about something on an international level. That's what I tend to do. I also did a lesson with my kids when I was in 7th grade with them, because they were learning about Asia, and I have done some traveling in Asia, so that I would bring in different artifacts. I had some money, I had pictures, and like seeing the money, they're like, oh, that's so cool, and it really just kind of brought it to life for them.
Yeah, bringing it to life. I think that's underscored that. And Laura, how about yourself? You're not visible, but
Yes, Karen, you just took so many words out of my mouth. It's so true that your lessons are different after you have visited a place. I was thinking back to a few years ago, I used to teach American history, and we were talking about the war and Berlin Wall, and the kids couldn't understand why people did not escape over the Berlin Wall. Well, I had been a fellow to Germany, so I pulled out some pictures of me standing next to the Berlin Wall. Well, they know how tall Miss West is, and in the picture I was raising my arm all the way up, and they could see that it was just so much larger, and I'm a very tall person, but they were like, oh, now we get it. So also like what Karen was saying, when you bring back realia, those real objects, whether it's a candy bar wrapper or, some money or some music or, things like that, it makes the lesson so much more real. And you just teach differently once you've been there. Because when you're teaching, you have those sounds and smells, in your mind as you're teaching, and you're just a different and better teacher.
Yeah, it's all those implicit things that really can't even say on the experience, but you bring that energy back, and the kids sense it. But I want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate and say, I know a lot of people, when they think about international experience or even building multiculturalism in their classroom curriculum, aren't we, they would say, the devil's advocate in me would say, aren't we creating more work for the educators, for the teachers, be it inside or outside the classroom support? What do you say to the people who say, you're just creating more work for teachers, you're asking them to now go do an international experience, bring that back, change their curriculum? Aren't you making life more difficult for teachers or educators in general? Anyone can go first. Who wants to go first?
I can take that a little part for this one.
Okay.
I would think the short answer is both yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a good teacher, you are always going to be putting more work on yourself, because you always want to find that next best video or that great passage, something that's really going to bring, history or math or science alive to your students. So in that aspect, if you are a good teacher, yes, you're always going to be doing that. But then, of course, the answer is no, because you're making the lesson so much better. And, you want your kids to be excited. And so when you do that, your lesson's better. So it's a necessary work, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, makes sense. How about what do you guys think?
I'll actually just piggyback on that in terms of it really is what you make of it. So you don't necessarily have to go back to your classroom and revamp your entire curriculum that you teach. It really is kind of what you're able to bring into it. And even just a little bit of effort makes things so much more engaging and meaningful to students. So it's really worth, the little bit of effort is definitely worth the benefit that you get out of it. But it really is, it can be kind of small tweaks, or I always like to use Monica's piece around, it's just a different lens that you use, so that you can use the lens at your curriculum and just kind of make these little switches and make these little illustrations with your teachers, with your students, and it just really, it really makes a huge difference.
I also like to think
that oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Go.
Why did you switch? That's funny.
Go ahead.
I think it is a misconception that it's this whole other program that you have to add on.
Yes.
But you can really bring the world to your classroom just by integrating just little topics, world issues. And really, maybe sometimes you don't even have to go really far off. I'm a theater teacher. I open their world by taking them to the local community theater and watching a show. So perhaps start with the local community and then build from that. And so you just integrate your experiences into your lesson. It's not really necessarily a whole separate program. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of going off that, what I started this year, because I've always been afraid to try and bring on too much into my classroom, is I made bulletin boards, and I also put up different pieces. Like I have a little statue I bought when I was in South Africa. I brought that in. And I have the sustainable development goals on my wall. And I have pictures from my safari on a bulletin board. With a Nelson Mandela quote. And those little things, even though I'm not directly teaching it, the kids are still asking about it, and it's providing those chances to share your experiences and to open their eyes to that without adding a lot more pressure on yourself.
Awesome. Great. Monica, I think Monica and Terry, or?
I think it's as simple as what Michael said. So, we all have our standards that we have to teach, but you don't have to go big. I think sometimes we think that it has to be a big change, but something as small as what Michael said, and he already is teaching mammals. It's already a part of his curriculum. He's just now going to throw in some mammals from South Africa, and you're already teaching whatever lesson you're teaching that matches your standards. So why not just switch your book to a book based in South Africa, based in Germany, based in wherever it is, maybe a book based on where your kids are from. Have a lot of kids from a certain country or area or something like that. Pull in books with those students' backgrounds. And so I think that it fits perfectly with the curriculum that you're already doing, but it's just making those small tweaks. I use the same book for 20 years, so why not switch it up and use this book? Or find this video instead of using the video that you've always done. It still works with your curriculum, but you're just adding in you're not simplifying, but you're tossing in something that has a global ed aspect to it, but it hasn't changed anything that you do necessarily in your curriculum.
Awesome. Okay. Terry, you want to say anything before?
I think that literature is the easiest way, and just supplanting something that, like Monica said, has been used for years. For example, the 5th grade curriculum now includes this whole water unit. And as I was saying, the kids read Long Walk to Water. So that was a fantastic way to talk about culture, sustainability, the lives of these of children in South Sudan. They learned so much. They learned their water, but they learned so much. We talked about water usage, and they measured how much water they're using in a day in their own homes, and then compared them through research. They found comparisons with other countries. So they learned a great deal that way, and it didn't have to be that way. It could have just been, reading books about where does your water come from, and the water table, and different scientific aspects of it. But we were able to bring in a lot more in that unit. So that's just one example, but I think that's a good one. And then the other thing that's so impactful is being able to bring somebody into the classroom. So having traveled, I'm able to bring in personal things, but when I could bring a person into, that really makes a difference when they get a chance to meet someone. Last year, the fourth graders were studying Mexico, and I've been teaching English in the evening. I invited one of my students from Mexico to come in and speak. He's a farm worker. And that was really an interesting dynamic because my students see these people working in the fields, but they don't know them. And so having somebody come in and talk to them about how it was when he was a little boy, what kind of games he played when he lived in Mexico and what they ate, really was very eye-opening for them.
Yeah.
Speaking of things like that, it's kind of the things you're going to do anyway, but you're using your global lens now, and you're looking for ways to bring it in.
Yeah, as you're saying it, I'm thinking about teachers, normally have just the books and text, and it's very two-dimensional, very flat way we were forced to teach, but making, adding these little tangibles that you're talking about makes it 3D for the kids, it brings it to life, and it's almost like they can probably see it dancing out of the paper, and they're alive, and so I like that, what you guys just all said. I hope I didn't miss anybody, because I want to move to the next question I have. It's about global competencies. I think Asia Society's global competency rubric is quite popular by now, and it's a big concept, and everyone's talking about it in the field of education. I want to see if you guys can give me an idea about how these global competencies are now working themselves in the way you approach kids and education. And again, who wants to go first? It's up to you.
Again, this is Laura West, and in my school, we're an international baccalaureate district, and so our focus really is global learning, no matter what subject it's in. So if you know about the global competence, it's the 21st century skills, investigating the world, recognizing perspectives. That's what we want for our kids. I mean, our kids do that anyway. And, the world is getting smaller. We're going to be working with people from other cultures and other languages. So why not give your kids that advantage by starting them off, as young as you can, so that they'll just know that that's a way of life. We're just setting our kids up for success with these global competencies.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that, Laura, but also, as a school counselor, the big piece for me that's embedded in all of this is that empathy aspect. And so I really, when I'm thinking about global education and when I'm going in and I'm doing my classroom lessons, I really put a focus on that empathy piece and throughout all of these competencies and throughout everything that we've learned, empathy is that piece that's embedded in. And so I try to help my students to see that, like, if we can show some empathy towards others, whether we've met these people, we've never met these people, what are our commonalities, and we can find those things, then as Laura said, we're helping our students become better citizens. We're helping our students become more globally aware. And so they kind of know a little bit more of how to interact with people who they've never met before, because they're gaining these experiences through us learning about these competencies and teaching them to those students.
Thank you, Monica. Anybody else wants to jump in on that one?
Well, I'll just say a few words. I'm a first grade special education teacher. So initially, it was really, when I first started to work with global education, when I first entered the Global Learning Fellowship Program, I really kind of struggled a little bit about how to make this kind of experience developmentally appropriate for my grade level. How can I do it for 6- and 7-year-olds? So when I looked at the Asia Society and the framework that they offer and the competencies, it really kind of opened my mind. I had a big moment when we had our conference together and went over that, so that it really is, there are developmentally appropriate ways for my students to build the empathy skills. You know, my social emotional learning piece is all about that in my classroom, but also being able to talk to people that may look or sound different than them, to have an authentic audience around that, how to communicate with each other, how to engage in small service learning projects in our own community. It doesn't necessarily have to be global. So those kinds of things that we can really break down for our kiddos to get them ready as they get older and to be successful as adults, not only in our own economic situation, but also kind of world citizens. So I really, really like the outcome. So if people aren't familiar with them, definitely look at it. And the framework, I think, is really a good thing to look at. I found that to be a really important learning for me.
It is, and I did that, and I'm just thinking, actually, I'll put it on the Global Educators Exchange website too this week. I will get that up there because it is a really important framework. So anybody else?
I think it's so important for the kids to be able to take another person's perspective. We did, I have a group at my school called the Global Leaders, and they're a group of kids between 4th and 6th grade. And they wrote essays, and their friends voted on who would be the leaders this year. And so they go into classrooms, usually a younger classroom, and they'll share a book or share a video and talk about things. But in December, what they did was they presented different festivals of light that happen all around the world to the whole school. And it was a very interesting process because along with all these festivals are different foods. And of course, that's particularly interesting to children and adults.
To all of us.
And so you're learning to be able to see a different kind of food and hear about it and not say, ew. You know, that is learning right there for elementary school students, that, you know, to keep your mind open and think about the fact that people enjoy this. And so, you know, if you're saying, ooh, that's not really being very empathetic or open-minded about another person's culture and their interests and what they enjoy. So all those small things at an elementary school level are really important, and that is building their global competence, because as they grow up, these kinds of issues become more and more important, especially in the world that we have today. It's so important for our children to be able to be flexible, open-minded, and take the perspective of other people.
Awesome. Great, thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? I'm just being a little bit mindful of time. I want to have some questions, but I have more questions. So please, I'm not to rush you, but everybody got a chance? Awesome. Well, my final question is, can you guys share some of the tangible things that you brought away from your international experience? I'm sorry, some less tangible things, some of the tacit things that are really hard to say, yeah, this is what I brought, and maybe this is touching more on your personal growth than professional growth. Are there anything that you brought back that you're still saying, I don't even have the words for this, but this is how I've changed? You know, some of the implicit ways that you're still trying to give it shape and form. Because sometimes I feel like when you go on a trip, it's about those changes that are hard to tell people, well, you know, this is how I feel inside now.
I feel just so enthusiastic, and as a teacher, I think that's a really important thing, is that you can go to work and, you know, feel very enthusiastic, and the children see that. They look at me as a person who's traveled, which I love, and they come to me and say, oh, Mrs. Anderson, did you see this new book in the library? It's about Iraq, you know, and they know that I'm going to be interested in it. And I think that the things that I've been able to do are encouraging to them. I'd like to think that when they get opportunities in their life, they'll say, yeah, I could do that because Mrs. Anderson did that. She traveled there, and I want to go see this kind of thing for myself. So I think that's important. I hope that I might have that impact on my colleagues as well. But I know I do for the children. Just a funny little story, but I had this new necklace on. It had these little blue beads. They were just little blue beads, but they came up to me and said, "Oh, is that the world? Are all those beads the world?" And I thought, "Oh my goodness, I think I've made a reputation." But I love that. I love for them to think about traveling for themselves, and it's just such an exciting thing when you really get to interact with people from a different place. And I hope that they all get a chance to do that. It just changes us all for the better, I think.
So,
Terry, sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Terry, I think that as a global fellow, which all of us were, and I think the other travels we've done, we do get that reputation as travelers and inspiring kids. Every summer when I come back to school, there are postcards that kids have sent to me at the school from their travels because they want me to know what they have done. And it's just so neat. I never asked them to do it, but every year I come back and there's 3 or 4 postcards that kids have sent me from their travels because they just want me to know.
Awesome. Cool. Great. How about you guys?
Just to piggyback on what some of the other people have shared, very similar to both Laura and Terry's stories. I always share the story about when I was in 5th grade and we studied Western civilization, and Miss Riopel was my teacher, and I remember sitting there, and this was, a long time ago, it was in the 80s, and I remember that she shared photos of Egypt while she was there. And I still remember sitting in my chair, and it was just so much more engaging to me and inspiring to me, and it actually inspired me to become a traveler. So when I went on my first backpack tour when I was 18 through Europe, I remember sending a postcard to Miss Riopel from Paris and told her that I have made it to traveling. And we actually ended up becoming friends for a while. So she's been a very inspirational character. And I think it really was because how she brought the world into the classroom. And I think that's just a real inspiring piece of this kind of work for students, but also fellow colleagues. So it's good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else?
Since we're talking about like the tangible aspect, like the non-tangible aspect of what we brought back, my first experience abroad, I moved to the Philippines for a year and a half to teach, and I'd never been abroad before that, and I had to say it was probably one of the most. I came back a new person, and now I'm constantly like, I'm more open-minded. I want to share and want my students to be open-minded. I try new foods that I would never have tried before, which is a big one for me. So I think any type of, even if you're not looking to bring it into the classroom directly, it's going to affect the way you are and how you interact with your students. And you'll want to share those aspects of the travels with them.
Awesome. Great.
Definitely after our fellowship, especially after coming back from Africa, it was very empowering for me to start the school year. I've been teaching for 21 years, and so as I mentioned in the panel discussion in Harvard, it becomes routine. But after traveling with everybody, that was really inspiring to start a new school year. And for me, another valuable part of it is forming all these friendships. And when we saw each other in Boston, it was like, it's this happy reunion. And that's just been wonderful. It's just been lovely to know that I have this vast network in the United States where I can email and ask for help or information, and it's just good to know that I have that network.
Great. Laura, did you get to say anything?
I did. I started us off, I think, after Terry with the postcard story.
Okay, sorry about that. So if I got it, everybody, I heard you guys say empowering, inspiring, open-minded, empathetic, enthusiastic, supported, and networked. And those really do speak to the implicit things that I think travel and international experience brings to us. I wanted to take the last 10 minutes that we have to see if any of the attendees have questions. I see some people have also posted comments, but I'm not sure who they're from, but there's friends of yours who have also signed on. Kara from Ohio is here.
Oh, hey, Kara.
But I want to ask the attendees, if you have a question, you could either send it privately to me, and there's an icon you could click, or send to all. In the meantime, you guys could also share other things that you wanted, but I just wanted to open it up for questions to be sent in at the last 9 minutes or so that we have. And then there's also another comment that came in. LOL, I was a fellow 2017 in China and evaluated applications for 2018 fellows located.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking us.
Located in Elko, Nevada, and will be in Vegas on the 26th of January for the SNLS.
Yay, I will be there. Oh my gosh, we got to connect.
So those are the comments I see so far. Oh no, there's someone else. Oh, sorry. Julie Mitcliffe.
Oh, hi, Julie.
And she's saying, I'm having problems with my audio on the computer. I can see you and I'm listening on my phone. So hi, fellows. So hi, fellows. Just waiting on a few more questions. And you guys have any other final comments to say before it comes to mind that I didn't cover with my questions?
So Mitra, if we look on the World Teach website, we'll see things about the GEE.
You're absolutely right. Yes, the G is right here on the Global Educators Exchange. I will be sending it to the list of attendees again, and you guys, if you could spread it to everyone you know. And I'm going to be talking. Actually, this is going to be taped on the posted on the website as well. So this will be for people who couldn't attend. All the information's there, and everyone's welcome to send me emails or any members of our staff, and we're happy to answer any of the questions you have.
So this is the first year for the G program.
Yes, and we have it in 3 countries this year to start off with. We have it in Kenya, Uganda, and Mexico. And what I think is, you guys went through a competitive application process. You were selected, and that was really tough. The other one is IREX, for example. They also have a great international program, but it's competitive, and they go through an application process, and it's pretty tough. I like to open it up to more teachers and educators participating and not making it so tough. I think a lot of teachers are hesitant to get into that. It's a lot of work. I know that you guys went through a lot to apply to this program. So let's open it up and let's make this more available experience so we can, that everyone can, the bug, I don't know what, contagious, the word contagious comes to mind.
So one of the things that I was thinking about is that the people that can take part in G might, at the end of the summer, come away with the same kind of group that they can, share ideas and be inspired as we were by traveling together last year.
Yeah, one of the things we're saying is the various networks we hope that the participants will have, not only their colleagues that they'll develop in countries they participate in, but then the groups of educators they'll be connected with here. We're going to do a lot of work with them through various workshops and webinars, bringing them together for post-experience conferences so that they have a network. You guys all alluded to it. Just the fact that you're here together on this webinar shows that, and you also said in the tacit things that you brought back, it's the network. So we don't underestimate that, and we really will be working hard to develop that. There are other countries that are also interested, so we really hope it is infectious. That was the word I was looking for, not contagious. And so we have China and Jordan for the 2020. So we hope that we can spread the word and we can get other countries on board as well. You also alluded in the talk tonight that more than ever we need these sort of international experiences to break the borders, break the walls, break the barriers, and make the world smaller. So really important for the next generation to have those global skills for the job market and the economic market. But you have good questions for me, Terry. Go on. What am I should be selling the G program. I'm more interested in you guys amazing inspiring work. And forget my own program. But what am I forgetting? You're an educator and you want to go on the G. What should I be answering for your fellow peers?
So I will say, because I love that you said educator. And so I think it's important if you're not a classroom teacher to still apply for these experiences, because as I said, you can do what you can do in the realms of your, whatever your path is. And so I think it's important, even if when I became a fellow, I'm the first the first school counselor that they've taken that's not in the traditional, in teaching in some capacity. And I had to fight for it a little bit, but at the same time that the experiences are totally worth it. And so I think that we have to get out of the idea that it's just for classroom teachers. If you don't teach in a classroom, if you're not a special ed teacher, if you don't have a label as a teacher, that you can't have these experiences, and you can. And then when you go, you just have to figure out how it works for your job class. But it's definitely doable, and I would recommend, highly recommend, that even if you're not a classroom teacher and you're debating, to apply for programs like this G program, because your experiences will still be amazing and you'll still be able to bring something back.
I agree. And I actually think, I also educators use broadly, the administrators, principals and superintendents should also, because as leaders of a school, it's really important for them to model it for the whole community. And once your principals, internationalize, there's the real inflection right there, the principal and superintendent. So, but, let me not forget, if I'm missing out any questions, I'm not missing out any questions. And I hope I'm doing this correctly. So, yeah, I'm okay with that. Oh, no, I am. Gerardo from Mexico is here. That's so hard to read this way. Okay. Hold on, you guys. I want to say, John Tierney, you guys, why not tell the audience about the networking and idea of exchanges which happens as a result of being around some great educators? I'm still in touch with most of the people I toured with. I believe another thing students can benefit from is the struggles that we had to go through when we have traveled. Exactly. It's not always a very easy thing. I mean, we all know about the trouble of sometimes even finding clean sanitary stuff. So I totally agree with that. It's that hardship that comes with travel that also makes us really appreciate home sometimes, and what we do have. Great webinar. This is Kimberly Saldith-Poo, who says, what is the process of applying to be a fellow? And there is information that we can share with you on the NEA Fellowship. The Global Educator Exchange is the website I have, and we're also happy to share that with you as well through worldteach.com. So that's also available. And I think I got all the questions. Let's see. Will G participants spend teaching during the experience? Yes, you will be. That's from Andrea Eisenberg, I believe, the last part of her.
Hi, Andrea.
The last part of her question is cut off. Hi, everyone. It is Julie Midkiff. I read that for you. So I think I got everyone's. I'm sorry. I'm reading the tiny little slit here in this GoToWebinar, and I'm not sure if I got everyone, but I hope so. I think I did everyone. We are right at 9 o'clock. I am beyond grateful that you all spent this evening with us, sharing your international experience with us.
Thank you.
As you have been infectious for so many people, I hope you are contagious for the people who will go on the G experience. Thank you very much.
It was really enjoyable. Thank you, Mitra.
No, thank you, Karen, Monica, Laura, Michael, Hannah, Terry. You guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. The kids, your schools are very lucky to have you.
Thanks, Mitra. Nice to see everybody.
Nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you all. Thank you, everybody who joined us this evening. Good evening. Good night.
Good night.
There's an exit on the side. I just saw it, Michael. On the top left.